Hello and welcome to the following presentation of AI catalog management, a talk that I recently gave in person at the AI for Distributors event in Chicago, hosted by the Distribution Strategy Group. And at that event, I came with a premise, a big idea, and that was AI fails without clean, accessible data. And AI catalog management as the preeminent answer to the biggest problem that I think we are dealing with in distribution today. We're looking to implement step two or a AI tool or point solution instead of focusing on the foundational work that 95% of distributors that I speak to are missing. So let's jump into it. And I would love if you have any questions about this, you drop them in the chat or DM me directly on LinkedIn. Most people that came to this event, and if you're watching this playback, I'm assuming that you're interested because you know that in order to transform your business and implement some AI technology, whether that's something that you're building yourself or if it's a vendor that maybe you're looking at or a point solution, deep down that product data probably has something to do with making this experiment successful. But before the product data, there's even this layer that goes one step deeper, which is the management of it, the governance, the structure, the data modeling, the taxonomy schema, the rules that go into making a product catalog best in class. We'll talk about what's going on today as it relates to the industry, but we'll also talk about what's next, the future. That's the exciting part. So stick around for that, but hang in there with me because I want to start with just a quick anecdotal story. And that story is a real life example I just had. It's summertime in Florida, and it gets a little swampy if you're not if you're not aware of that. So I like to get my HVAC unit tuned up before the real nasty weather hits. And I had this HVAC technician come over, and I noticed he was on his phone the entire time. It was like a 2 or 3 hour service call. He had to replace a part on my unit. And so when he was done, I stopped and I asked him some questions about how he works, and particularly how he sourced that part that he just replaced on my unit. And he said, "Well, I've got this program, which of course helps me organize all of my service calls." He's able to like take pictures. The AI will actually tell him, "Okay, you need to get this. You need to do this next." And it will also help him identify the replacement part. And I said, "Okay, well, when it comes time to actually get that part, how does that work? Do you work with distributors?" "Yeah, I work with three distributors. We're allowed to buy from these three, and I usually will call them to check if the product's available and when I can get it." I said, "Why do you call? Everything else that you do day to day is on that phone. It's all digital. Why do you call your distributor?" Of course, I knew the answer, but he said, "Well, it's simply because I can't find what I'm looking for on their website. I don't trust the website. I can't find what I need, and I don't know if it's in stock. So even if I find the right part, I'm still not sure if they have it and when I can get it." That's a digital experience breakdown. And it's why distributors still struggle with e commerce adoption. And I think all of this comes back to the catalog. So, catalog in manufacturing distribution, the product assortment that your suppliers offer and which you're able to source and offer to your customers is still king when it comes to this business. I believe that a good product data catalog drives everything when it comes to digital commerce adoption and growth. I believe that it is the foundational pillar which enables your sales team to better serve your customers. I believe that it is the key to unlocking AI adoption and efficiency gains and ultimately drive profitable growth. That's the big idea. That's what I'm talking about today. Now, when it comes to the print catalog, this is where I actually started my career. Because I'm a millennial, I watched the advent and the evolution of digital technology. And before I had anything that looked like a smartphone, I started my career working in a print catalog agency. We actually designed and printed industrial distribution catalogs. So, my first real job in school was to take raw supplier data and turn it into something that a customer could actually use to find and buy a product. So how did we go from this in, 1900s, because my kids like to say, "Dad, you're from the 1900s," to this, what we have today, full e-commerce, automated order management, right? And I would say that despite all of the technology, all of the tools that we've thrown at this evolution in the way that we present and sell products to our customers, has not actually delivered on the digital commerce promise. We've spent all of this time, but most of us still struggle with the same catalog we had, the catalog problem that we had in 2006. In fact, I would go so far as to say the problem is even three steps deeper. Because with a print catalog, you had to be disciplined because nothing went to print that was inaccurate. And if it did, you would hear about it for a couple years until you were ready to print the next version of that catalog. But because we're able to so quickly throw products on a website, the discipline of catalog management has eroded. And distributors' catalogs are showing the results of that lack of discipline. Product data is outdated, it's incomplete, it's inconsistent across the board. And many distributors know this, so they only show a fraction of the products that they actually sell or stock online because they know that if they were to even add more, it would just be a bigger mess. So not only is the product data messy, but it's only showing a fraction of what we can actually sell our customers. That's why digital adoption is so miserable. So that's kind of how we got here. But what does the real present day danger look like? And it really comes down to the impact of poor product data quality. So 83% of executives, when you really push them, and of course, when I have one-to-one conversations with distributor executives, I would say it's probably much higher than this because obviously they're talking to me for a reason. It's probably closer to 95% when I talk to distributors. Very few of them are like, "Well, my data is in really good shape. I'm just looking to move to the next level." Most of them say that it's incomplete and it's outdated, and they acknowledge that it's directly impacting both customer and internal sales adoption, as well as conversion and growth. That's the present day reality. And it shows up not in all of the places where you might necessarily think. You might think, well, it's my online channel is doing 1% of revenue. And obviously that's a product data problem, but it's okay. I've got these other channels. But it shows up in other areas, right? It shows up in customer adoption, it shows up in the sales operations, it shows up in the way your brand appears to your customers, the disconnect that you have between the face to face or the phone call experience and what a customer experience is online. And then, of course, what many distributors are looking to figure out and why distributors came to this event in the first place was, how do I make AI a success? How do I avoid AI failure? So I'll take these just quickly one at a time, right? Number one is customer adoption. And the whole big bet on digital commerce is that customers will self serve, which means fewer phone calls, fewer emails back and forth, a lower cost to serve sales team, freed up to actually sell and be relational instead of being order takers, order managers. But 68% of B2B buyers are actively discouraged from buying online because of order errors. They don't have time to deal with the errors that they're experiencing. And it's almost always traced back to inaccurate or outdated product information. So when a customer searches for a 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC coupling and your site serves back 12 results with different naming conventions, no specs, no images, they call your rep. They don't even give it a second chance, right? Once a customer has been let down on the website 2 or 3 times, they simply stop trying. And it's not that they don't want to use your e-commerce channel. It's just that they have a job to do and you have effectively trained them off your digital channel. The number two area here is sales operations, right? Bad catalog data isn't just hurting the website, it flows straight into your sales org. Because when the product data is incomplete, your reps fill the gaps manually. You call it hustle, but I call it inefficiency masquerading as heroics. Grab a link from a manufacturer website over here. Hey, grab a link from a competitor's website over here. Gobble together that data, help your customer with the quote, and process and then manage that quote. That's a heck of a lot of manual labor and institutional knowledge that's living in the heads of your Gen X and Boomer veteran sales reps who have spent their career being experts in your product catalog in the categories that you sell. Those people are moving into retirement. And when those reps leave, the institutional knowledge that they have walks out with them. Now, when the new reps come in, the Gen Zs, they're going to be paid a salary that is essentially going to come with it a total lack of experience. And who's going to train them? You're not going to get your older reps as they're walking out training the new reps coming in. The catalog itself is their number one mentor. It is the way those reps will be able to service your customers and allow them to be relational reps, not order takers. Again, all of this, it comes back to the commerce channel, but I don't want you to sleep on the fact that it's not just a commerce channel. It is a catalog, and that catalog contains pages, and that those pages contain data. Your commerce channel is only as good as your catalog, and your catalog is only as good as those individual product detail pages, which of course are only as good as the structured data that make them up. Now, the other area, which is very difficult to quantify, but is an absolute reality, is brand trust. The disconnect that your customers experience. They're comparing you to Amazon and Granger. Whether that's fair or not, it doesn't matter. But those platforms have invested significantly in data quality. When your product pages have missing specs, wrong images, inconsistent units of measure, your customers notice. And get this, this was an amazing statistic. 74% of B2B buyers say they would switch suppliers if they offered a better experience. The number one driver of that frustration was inaccurate product information. Procurement is getting younger and more digital. Relationships simply cannot fix a wrong spec on a purchase order. So those new purchasing agents, those new buyers, they expect a completely different experience. And for better or for worse, they're judging you against what they see online. And then the fourth one is the lagging ROI. 39% of organizations, now this is across many different sectors, but 39% report measurable impact from AI. Data quality is the consistently cited barrier for the other 61%. And I would say that that 61% is much, much higher in distribution. Again, because some industries or some sectors have better data guardrails, data management, and governance than distribution. So, all of that being said, that's where we live today. But don't you dare put down your coffee because guess what's coming down the train tracks? Agentic commerce. Are you ready for the next buyer who has no eyeballs? Here's what makes this so urgent right now. So I heard this Gartner analyst, this guy named Daryl Plummer. He was at the Gartner IT Symposium. This was just October 2025. And here's what he said, that by 2028, 90% of B2B buying will be AI agent intermediated. Okay. You think that's a bit aggressive? I mean, I thought at first, I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's got to be on something. But I'm starting to believe it when I think about how fast things are moving right now. What my team and like has been able to build in the last 6 months, which would have taken years and years in the past, it's simply incredible. Imagine over $15 trillion in B2B spend. And of course, that's across all B2B and not necessarily just distribution, which is probably half of that total B2B market. But that's massive, right? And here's the thing, they query a data feed. These agents, they're not looking at websites. They don't consider your brand or your fluffy SEO copy. They're comparing specs programmatically. So if your catalog isn't structured, complete, and machine readable, you're not in the consideration set, right? You didn't lose the deal. The fact is that you never even existed. That's the scary reality. Now, what I love about what he said was, and this kind of sums up everything that we're doing here at Pivotry, and so it kind of feels validating. But he said this, in this new ecosystem, verifiable operational data becomes a currency, fueling a data feed economy where digital trust frameworks and verifiability are prerequisites for participation. Now, that's an intelligent sentence, but let me break it down for us who went to public school. Clean, accessible data is a prerequisite for the agentic buyer. Has to be clean and it has to be accessible. That means data governance leading to clean data integrated into the systems and available for those agents. Look, and I've been saying this for years, that your data is the competitive advantage, right? Now, for most of that time, distributors nodded in agreement. I've yet to have any pushback on that statement. But they went back to the ERP, they went back to their status quo, and because they didn't feel really the pressure, right? But now we're starting to see massive shifts. We're starting to see not just digital demand go up, but now there's this new demand, traffic from LLMs, all kinds of agentic tools that your customers are using on the job, tools to help them plan projects, engineer products, keep the shelves stocked. This is the current reality and it's the future danger. Now, we have a fantastic tool and a service. Again, everything that we are doing is AI intermediated with human intelligence. So we will run an agentic procurement assessment on your website. That agent will crawl your website and think like a B2B buyer. And it will come back with all of this information. And then we'll have a real human being who is a domain expert on our side. And we'll sit down with you and we'll go over the report together and we'll explain what the agent saw and what you can do to fix it. So if that's the clear and present danger, right? B2B adoption is disappointing to say the least, and agentic commerce is the future. What does it look like to be a digital leader today? Well, I've seen good catalog operations, and we're fortunate to work with some of the biggest and best brands in distribution who are doing this well. And here's what they have in common, these five pillars. Number one, they have process and governance. The rules exist before the product enters a catalog, not after a customer complains. Number two, they have taxonomy and schema, and they govern that taxonomy and schema. It doesn't get broken by new product data imports. The architecture that everything else sits on is mapped to how their customers actually buy online. Number three is supplier data transformation. Every product is transformed to your standard every time, and it's not patched manually when somebody complains. It's not sourced from industry aggregators. It's not this soup of industry aggregator taxonomy over here, supplier feed taxonomy here, creating this nasty stew of data, which is completely confusing to not only your human buyers, but of course to AI buyers. And they do enrichment and optimization. So, not all products deserve the same attention. Some products need to be continually enriched, making those products even better sellers. Some products need to be optimized because they are behind. You can stand out from your competition by identifying which products are moving and give them some additional love to make them perform even better. And then finally, they have accountability. This is discipline at the end of the day. This is the human side of AI catalog management today. They have requirements. Nothing goes online unless it meets these very particular standards. So a couple of our customers, worthy to note here, some case studies. Sonopar, for example, they depended heavily on offshore enrichment. They had a lot of manual gaps from their supplier feeds. Cycle time was weeks and weeks. And after AI powered catalog automation with supervised learning and human intelligence, met with incredible AI technology that our team deploys, they were able to achieve 96% data quality across the entire catalog. They were able to reduce cycle time. And I talk to distributors who, it takes months for them to onboard new products. They were able to reduce it from weeks, which was already pretty good, to hours. And then finally, they saved a ton of money each month on enrichment vendors and outsourced contractors. Now, that was just the data savings. We can't even quantify how much revenue they produced because we had yet to implement our Ascend solution. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, ABC Supply, this is an example of not just data enrichment and data onboarding, but this is an example of a massive roofing distributor, the largest, in fact, in North America. And they had no digital commerce. They had no catalog governance. So they had to start from the beginning. And we helped them do that. We started with just 120,000 SKUs. We defined the data model, the governance, and the structure. And we helped them implement their PIM, which led to a 60% reduction in new product introduction costs and saved them a ton of money with a faster PIM rollout. That set the stage for their aggressive acquisition strategy, which allowed them to map new product information into their golden record quickly and efficiently. And here's the most important thing that I want you to take from those two case studies. And that is that neither of those, while they're large enterprise companies, but neither of them are tech companies with huge data teams. These are distributors just like you. And sometimes we work with, 500 million, $1 billion distributor who has one or two people trying to manage hundreds of thousands of SKUs and hundreds and thousands of supplier feeds. So I want to talk about the future. And before I do that, I need to tell you where I'm coming from because this is what Pivotry does. We think about solving the digital commerce friction in distribution at the very root. So we start with clean, accessible data. We clean it, we build the model around it, we govern it. We push that data via our integration services to the systems that need to consume it. And we wrap all of that in AI plus real human intelligence that help our customers punch above their digital weight. And I want to talk to you about the future, the exciting future of a self-healing catalog. Imagine a catalog that wakes up every morning and runs its own quality audit. It knows which SKUs are missing attributes. It knows which products are underperforming in search. It's already normalized the supplier data that came in overnight. It flagged the items that needed human review. It found the errors before your customers did. It didn't wait for a complaint. It doesn't wait for a quarterly project. It just runs continuously. And it personalizes for the channel. The electrical contractor sees one view. The industrial MRO buyer sees another. None of it is hands on keyboard. All of it is generated from structured product data and customer signals. That is the future. And that is exactly what we're building with Ascend. Ascend is a continuous catalog management program powered by real human intelligence and AI technology. We start by ingesting commerce performance signals from the e-commerce system, as well as Google Search, Google Analytics, and we're able from that data to monitor and score every SKU, every brand, every product category. With a score of 0 to 100 in terms of the priority of optimization, we're able to create an engine that continuously fuels a queue. That queue is handled by our team of data analysts, data engineers, information architects who actually do the hard work of normalizing supplier data, enriching it, and optimizing it for performance. Then that product information is pushed directly to the PIM or the platform where it needs to live. And the entire cycle repeats over and over again. That's the advantage of continuous catalog performance. And it's what we've built in Ascend. And if I'm honest and as humble as I can try to be about it, there's absolutely nothing like this in the market today. I'll just say this, that the call to action here is to start by doing an assessment. You cannot fix what you can't measure. And so let's start with a diagnostic. We will do an agentic procurement shopping run on your website. We'll deploy our agent and we'll show you exactly what that agent sees when it looks at your product catalog. Then we'll sit down with you, we'll go over the results, and we'll talk about what's the next right thing to do in your business to drive performance. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, visit pivotry.com to learn more about our team and our solutions for distributors just like you.